This is your Fife Property market update for the week commencing the 2nd of November until the 8th. We are well on our way into November, but this is going to give us a recap of what was taking place last week for the first week of November. So this is where we look at the facts and figures from Rightmove and what agencies were doing all across Fife. We'll then do a run through of what we were doing in particular as an agency, so what we accepted offers on, what we have coming soon, and also what has now completed, so you can get an understanding on what offers are being accepted, what buyers are putting forward, likewise what properties are going over the line as well. And then we'll do a run through of the shows that have taken place just to give you an insight so you can go back and take any information from. So this is a great show to watch if you're thinking of selling, if you're perhaps on the market, if you're thinking about buying in Fife, or even if you're purely just curious into what is happening. Now, what I will say is a great show to go back and watch is last week's, because last week's show I did the roundup for the month. So I pulled all of the October figures together for you to have a look at, and it's broken down into micro regions. What I will say off the top of my head, and this is something that probably Perry and I are getting quite a lot, is, oh, now it's not a great time to sell, it's quieter. Oh, my friends and family are saying, don't bother, wait until spring, summer next year. Absolutely not. I keep hearing that, but if you go back and look at the figures for last month, you will see why. So there was 528 properties that went to market last month alone, just in 528. Buyers, 524. There was 524 offers accepted on properties, literally a difference of 4. So not only is it a really high number being in the 500s, but there's literally a marginal difference of 4 properties for obviously whatever reason, but that just shows you there was still 524 buyers out there looking for homes last month alone in Fife. So that does tell you now is a fantastic time to go to market. Now, this is where we will just have a look, as I say, at last week's, but do go back and watch for last month's roundup if that's something you're interested in. Now, like always with these shows, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to put them in the comments. Even if you are not watching this live, you can still come into us in the comments and we will come back to you. Likewise, if you just rather message us privately, we're more than happy to chat with you. So we're going to start with, as I say, last week's figures. So this is there for you. So you should be able to see them there. And as I say, they are broken down into micro regions. So you can see there straight off the bat, there was 116 new properties that were brought to market, with 98 properties showing sold subject to concluded missives. So that just shows you, yes, last week there was a slight decrease in buyers that were out there on the market shopping last week. However, what we do say is 1 week does not make a trend. But actually, interestingly enough, when we look through that, for example, there was more properties instructed last week in St Andrews, for example, because the week prior it had a very low instruction. But last week it picked it back up, and actually there was 11 properties instructed in St Andrews. So actually, when you look at your little anomalies like that, it's again all balances out, but it still does show you that it's a great time to go to market. On average, what we were normally seeing is there was about 140 to 150 new properties coming to market every week. So there was just around 116 last week alone. What that tells you is people's mind shift has changed and there's not as many properties coming to market, which is why it's another reason that now is the time to go to market, because there is less competition out there. And if you just have a glance through these figures, you will see that. What that does also show you is, for example, if you were to take out the higher one for Dunfermline, we always know that they are higher, 48 and 45. If we were to take that out as well, it would give us a more kind of better representation, we would say, of what's happening, because Dunfermline always outperforms all the other micro regions just with its proximity to the big city and where it is positioned. It naturally always has higher transactional numbers. Now, if we were to look, for example, in Cooper, there were 6 properties instructed versus 10 properties sold. So more sold in Cooper last week than what actually came to market. And if you're perhaps wondering, well, how can that be the case? It doesn't mean to say it was just that week's stock that sold. It's obviously clearing through potentially some of the backlog, because again, that is a question I'm getting asked. Things don't really seem to be selling that much in Cooper, or etc. etc. However, this just shows you there was 10 properties sold, subject to concluded missives in Cooper alone last week. East Nuke 4 versus 4. So literally nothing between it. East Nuke is always lower numbers compared to the micro regions, just with obviously the stock that's available and in terms of what the demographic tends to be for the East Nuke. Obviously, with the ADS going up to 8%, your additional council tax, change in legislation for Airbnb, that obviously did have a contributing factor to the East Nuke and St Andrews. However, it is great to see that there was 4 properties instructed versus 4 properties sold, because again, people think in the East Nuke that properties don't sell, but actually if you go back and look at the monthly roundup for last month for the East Nuke, you might be surprised, and it is great to see. And we have had some fantastic results in the last couple of weeks in the East Nuke market. Obviously, if you have a micro region that you want to discuss in more detail, then please do reach out to us. We're more than happy to chat with you and obviously give you a slightly better and more in-depth kind of breakdown. So that is the properties that we have had in terms of, sorry, that is the whole of Fife, all agencies that use Rightmove. So that is their roundup. But now we're going to talk in a bit more detail about what we were doing in particular as an agency. So this is properties that we have accepted offers on, properties that are now coming to market with us, and also what has completed. So we'll start with what we accepted offers on last week. So the first one should be coming up on the screen for you. Now, this was a fantastic result because, as you can see, sold in 6 days. Now, this was a property that's in a semi-rural location, 4-bedroom end terrace property, really well presented. You wouldn't think standing out the front that you're walking into this gorgeous open plan living, kitchen, dining space that was contemporary, modern. It had a master ensuite, it had garden to the rear, while being in a great location as well, because literally 30-second, if that drive, and you were straight on the A92 for Dundee, Perth, Edinburgh, beyond. It really was fantastic. And as you can see, sold in 6 days for over home report value. Now, with these properties, we can't disclose what offers were accepted on them. You'll just need to continue to watch the shows. But what I can say is not only did we get it sold in 6 days, not only did we get it over home report value, but we were also able to get them moved on in their journey, because this particular client had the property on with a previous agent and it wasn't selling. They moved over to ourselves. I went out and I did the video works and we found the buyer before it went on Rightmove and Zoopla and S1 Homes. So that buyer came forward before we even hit the portals. And that's what a good estate agent will do. They will get your property out there. They will get it the exposure before it even gets to the wider market. We literally capture people and start launching your property from the minute that we walk out that door and that agreement is signed. We do our coming soon videos, we do our watch outs, we do our sneak peeks, we do our pre-portals, and that is what we do differently. And that's how we're able to get the results of sold in 6 days, and we're able to get them moved on in their journey. As I say, they're on with the previous agent and they weren't getting that result. So that's a fantastic one to share. So if you do have something similar, we did have other people reach out about this property, obviously. But if you do have something similar in perhaps a surrounding area of the KY1415 postcode, where it is that semi-rural or rural location, that's a family home, please do reach out to us, because we've had a lot of fantastic results recently for cottages and properties like that. But likewise, we have had people that's missed out because they do get snapped up quickly. So that is the first one. Next property, another fantastic result. And this was Sir Thomas Elder Way in Kirkcaldy. I was there last week and I did back-to-back viewings. It was a really popular one. As you know, it's a sought-after location. It's a development that naturally families want to be in and people want to be in. You are literally seconds from the retail park, close proximity to schooling, and then you can fire straight along the A92 if you're commuting, or you've got obviously the train station. So it's got everything within that area that everybody's looking for. And again, these type of homes don't come up. So when they do, they are snapped up. So as I say, I was there on Wednesday last week doing back-to-back viewings. We got multiple offers on this property, which is a shame, because that means that families did miss out. And obviously that is the unfortunate part of this, is there is people that missed out, but it just shows you need to, one, act fast and put your best foot forward. and obviously the buyer is delighted that they secured a property within an area that they were desperate for. Likewise, the seller is delighted that not only did they get their home sold for over the home report value, but they also got their buyer secured in 1 week, which is just fantastic. So again, if you do have property similar to this, we have a large amount of people that missed out. There was even people, even now, that are obviously keen for the property, but obviously it's sold. So we were inundated with this one. So please do reach out if you have something similar within the KY1 postcode or in this particular estate. Then please do reach out, because we have buyers that we can go to and get them prepped for your property coming. Then we have another property, and this was in Malt Row, Pitlessie. This was an absolutely beautiful home. I mean, you can see that even the curb appeal of this property stands out. So even just that in itself is a picture postcard perfect property. And then stepping inside, it's the exact same finish, exact same style and layout that you'd expect. And it is a beautifully presented home. It's a 4-bedroom, 4-reception detached property, substantial plot that is secluded, as you can see, extremely high standard. Now, this particular property was on the market for offers over 550,000. So it is a slightly higher price point property that we normally do have to prepare clients for. Then it's not perhaps the average selling time, because it's not within everybody's affordability. However, this is a fantastic result, because when a good proactive estate agent is out there and shows best interest, they will get you fantastic results, because this property had actually sold previously. Unfortunately, it fell through. The buyer had to walk away. We then had to remarket it, and we secured them a new buyer within a week. So actually, it almost had no knock-on effect to their forward-in position and their forward-in journey, because we locked them in a new buyer within a week of the previous one pulling out, which is just fantastic. And that is the difference. And that is how, when you get a proactive agent that jumps straight back on it, can get you another buyer. So that was fantastic to see. Now, a final property that we had an offer accepted on was a different location, but it's great to see that it was a St Andrews home, and this was Hay Fleming Avenue in St Andrews. This particular property was a 4-bedroom linked detached cul-de-sac, off-street parking. You can see that, extensive rear gardens, and with this one you actually had countryside views, which was a fantastic addition. So this was a cracking family home, and it was on the market for offers over 395,000. So it's great to see that obviously that one is over the line. It's not been on the market too long either, because average selling time in St Andrews can be anything from 5 to 6 months, just with the stock availability that is there. And just obviously, again, with the different factors that I mentioned at the beginning, with ADS and council tax, etc. Then, of course, with the new build developments as well, and the incentives that they are throwing at people, it has had a knock-on effect on the KY16 postcode. So it is great to see that we got that result in not too long a time either, which is fantastic. So that is properties that we have had offers accepted on. So let's think about what we have got coming soon. So this is properties that Perry and I have been out to value and are going to come into market with us. And this is your prime opportunity to find out about them before they actually go to pre-portal. Now, if you're not too sure what a pre-portal is, that is a preview of a property. So it's where one of the agents does a full video walkthrough. You'll see it on the social media page. So that's why you need to be following social media. You'll literally see the agent's face. You'll see the words pre-portal. That is your full video walkthrough of that home. Now you need to watch it. You need to make sure it ticks all the boxes. Then at the end, I tell you the price point, or Perry tells you the price point of what we predict the property to be coming at to market at. Now, if it's a property that ticks all your boxes, is in the location that you're looking for, and you think it could be within obviously your budget, reach out to us. You need to act fast when you see that pre-portal. Whether you phone us, messages, do what you need to do to get in touch, but you need to act fast. If you then can make our seller an offer that they cannot refuse before it goes to the Rightmove and the Zoopla and S1 Homes, then we could get you in there, get you a viewing, and you could potentially secure that property for the right offer before it goes to the wider audiences. Now, if you want to discuss that in more detail and understand the process a bit more, then please do reach out to us. Anybody within the team would be more than happy to guide you through that process and what pre-portal means and what you can do to make yourself attractive to that seller. But this is what we've got coming soon. So firstly, we have a property, and actually the pre-portal went on just last week, just on Friday. So you don't need to scroll back far to watch it, but you need to head to the eSnoop page and I was at St Abbs Crescent in Pittenweem. As I say, video went on Friday evening, and this particular property, now it is a 3-bedroom, 2-reception property. However, there is actually 2 additional attic rooms. Now, while we can't class them as bedrooms, they can be utilised as a bedroom space because one is, or a home office study, playroom, craft room, workshop. Honestly, the list is endless of what you could do with the property, but actually you're getting a fantastic footprint. It's a masonette, so it's split over 2 levels. It's got a brand new kitchen. It's got a new kitchen and a brand new bathroom. I think the bathroom's like a month, 2 months old maximum. It's got new carpets as well. So it really is a well-presented property, driveway, garden, and actually from your dining room and one of your bedrooms, you get sea views as well with the location and just how the property's positioned on St Abbs Crescent, you get the views as well. So it's a great home in a fantastic location, and that is on the East Nuke page. So do go and look at that. Another coming soon that we have is a property that I was out to in Gadbridge. Obviously, it's a sought after development. It's a KY16 postcode for those people that require a KY16 postcode, while being kind of in a great location because you're not in the hustle and bustle of St Andrews, but you are still close to Lucas for the train station, commuted to Dundee, back to Cooper. So it is a development that people naturally go towards, especially the fact they're still relatively new properties. While there has been a few resale, there are still relatively new properties. Now, this particular one, it is a 3-bedroom detached home. They have actually extended their kitchen into the garage space and created additional kitchen space and then a really large walk-in pantry, which is fantastic for storage. Because let's face it, who actually uses their garage for anything other than storage these days? There is still garage space there, so obviously you can keep all your outdoor things at the front part. But there is a pantry that has been utilised. Fantastic storage, as I say, for a family home. You've got patio doors leading you out to your garden, and it's got a really high quality summer house. It could be a workshop, it could be a working from home space, it could just be an additional living space. So much potential with it, but it's got a log burner, which is fantastic. It's got power and electricity. It's a fantastic addition to the garden space. So that one is going to be coming to market with us. Keep a lookout for the pre-portal, most likely this week, maybe beginning of next week, but keep a lookout for that one. So that is the properties that we have coming soon. As I say, if you want to discuss any of those in more detail, then please do reach out to us and we're more than happy to chat with you. But now we will have a little run through of what has completed. So this is properties that have now gone through the process and are now exchanged, new buyers enjoying the home, so we can disclose what they sold for. So his first property was Methelhaven Road in Buckhaven. It was a 2-bedroom ground floor apartment with the opportunity to add value, offering 1-level living and garden space. Now, this particular property sold for 1,000 over the home report, so it sold for 76,000. So that was a fantastic result. They always do naturally get snapped up because it's a great price point for first-time buyers, landlords, investors, etc. Next, we have slightly different location, and this was Towerwell, which was the high street in Newborough. Fantastic investment opportunity. It was a 2-bedroom lower apartment situated in a popular buy-to-let location. It sold for 2,500 over the home report value. New owners are delighted with the location of their property because Newborough, it has all your amenities within that village, but you just fire straight to the M90 and you can get to Dundee, Perth, Edinburgh, beyond. So fantastic location. Final one is Shaw Street in Anstruther. So this was a 2-bedroom apartment, finished to extremely high standard, stunning views right over the harbour and the Firth of Forth. But honestly, when I say extremely high standard, that is even doing it. That's not giving it enough justice because it was immaculate. It was being used as an Airbnb, so naturally you'd expect it to be, but honestly, it was stunning. It was such a spacious and bright properties. And what I loved is, yes, it was modern and contemporary, but you still had gorgeous character features throughout, so it kept its charm of the property and the age of it. But honestly, the views were incredible. Now, this one sold for 270,000. Likewise, this is another fantastic story because it was on with a previous agent last year. It didn't sell. They obviously came to market with ourselves. Jim did the full video walkthrough for this. It was a very, very popular one. It was a fantastic video and it sold. So we are delighted with that result. Likewise, the sellers are. Likewise, the buyer is delighted that they are then waking up to those views every single day. So that is what activity was taking place within Fife Properties Agency last week. So before we end the show, we're going to just do a run through of what shows have taken place so we can see what to go back and watch. So like always, you have the Wealth Creation Show on a Monday. So this is where you have Richard Cook, the Lettings Director, and Jim Parker, one of the UK's most successful property investors, on hand discussing a topic each week. They do it live. If you weren't able to watch it live, still watch it. And if you have any questions, just put them in the comments and either of them will come back to you. But yesterday's show was about investing your profits and turning earnings into enduring wealth. Every successful venture reaches a moment when profit appears. That's the kind of gratifying sign of progress, but also potential. But then what happens next determines whether success is fleeting or lasting. Now, profit is not just a reward, it's a responsibility also. It's the seed of future opportunity. And what you actually decide to do with that profit says far more about your financial wisdom than actually how you earned it in the first place. Sometimes too many people often treat it as an endpoint, perhaps a chance to spend, celebrate, relax after the grind. But actually, if you stop there at that point, you then potentially limit what your future profit can be. Now, if that sounds like something that would obviously pique your interest, go back and watch the show. And likewise, in the comments, share any case studies, or if you've got any hints or tips or anything at all, they do love to hear from you. So put that in there. Then you also have a fantastic show that, again, Richard Cook, Lettings Director, and Kerry Marshall, Letting Agent, were discussing. And this is great if you're a landlord or you're actually starting the process or even considering being a landlord. And it's about annual and seasonal tips for low stress lets. Having a solid plan to look after your rental property is absolutely essential to avoid unnecessary irritations and higher repair costs at inconvenient moments. Proactive maintenance does more than preserve your property's value. It nourishes tenant relationships, keeps you legally compliant, and actually protects your cash flow from unexpected bills. Our system for efficient, effective, and low stress management helps landlords by blending mandatory yearly checks, additional midterm inspections, and a detailed checklist. Now, again, if that sounds like something that would be of interest to you, watch the show. If you have, again, case studies, question, comments, share it with them. Richard and Karen and the team would love to hear from you. Likewise, they will come back and help you if you do have any questions. So that is the shows that's taken place. That is another update for yourself. Any questions regarding this or the Fife property market, put it in the comments, message us privately, or even pick up the phone and speak to a member of the team. Failing that, I will see you next Tuesday for another market update. All the best. Take care.